best skills and talents? Are you a good athlete? Are you able to compete on a variety of physical levels, or are your competitive talents better suited for more academic and intellectual pursuits? Are you an artist with a blowtorch, a monkey wrench, or a frying pan? What if you're none of those things? For one published author, that's the case. Hi, I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this month for Author Awareness, I'm interviewing women's lit author Emily Belden. Hey, happy Saturday everybody. If you didn't get to check out last week's top 10 video, you can do so by clicking the card up here, or you can wait until the end of this video for that link to pop up. I had a lot of fun putting that particular list together. What's even better is that the number of video clips that I used as visual references didn't get dinged by the lords of YouTube, so that's a good thing. Some of you might be checking out my new shirt. This is my official coffee drinking shirt. And if you want one just like it, check out Food for Shirts, which is an official sponsor for my channel. You can follow them on Instagram at Food for Shirts and check out some of the awesome products that they have in the link in their bio. If you like sushi, itadakimasu. If you like crepes, bon appetit. Every purchase is chefed up in Denver, Colorado, and served to you through the mail. Every purchase goes to help end hunger in the United States. Find a shirt, make a purchase, and help feed your fellow Americans. You can even get 30% off your purchase and free US shipping if you use the code GKJ_publishing.
You know what? It sucks to lose someone you love. When they pass away, it leaves this hole in your life and you don't know what else to do with it. How can you honor the life of someone who means so much to you? Hi, I'm your host, podcaster Garrett K. Jones. Join me as I honor the passing of my grandmother, a wonderful woman who witnessed a lot of history and instilled a lot of love and faith in my life. Welcome to Season 4, Storytellers.
So if you haven't checked out the podcast, I have it linked in the video description. There are currently 8 episodes available for the current season, plus all episodes from the previous seasons. I've got new content airing every Monday until Memorial Day, so be sure to check them out.
Before going any further with the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. You can select notifications for all videos, or you can select notifications based on your preferences. If you're watching on your phone, be sure to update those settings inside the app itself to get the most out of your viewing experience.
I'm also eager to find channel supporters. You can pick from supporting me on Patreon or buying and repping merch on social media. But by far the least expensive and fastest way to support what I do here on YouTube is by pushing my buttons. Like the like button and the subscribe button and the share button. You can also sign up for a free giveaway. I'm giving away this autograph poster featuring the cover art from my first 4 books. Sign up, share my videos and channel with everybody that you know, and I'll select a winner when I hit 200 subscribers. So I connected with this month's interviewee several months ago through Instagram as I was in the process of planning out my interviews for Season 3. I knew I needed to have her come on the show, and thankfully she was open to being interviewed. So without any further ado, let's get into this. Hey Emily, thanks for joining me. Tell me about yourself and your work.
Hey Garrett, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. So as far as what I write women's fiction. That means that I write novels. I have 2 out right now. They are called Hot Mess, that came out first in 2017, and Husband Material came out in 2020, on the last day of 2020. Both of those books are published by HarperCollins, and I am under an imprint there called Garrett House, which focuses on sort of edgy women's fiction. It's a newer imprint for them, and a fun fact, Hot Mess was the very first book that they acquired under that imprint. So super cool to know that that's sort of the book that started it all. Like once they read the manuscript for that, they were like, wow, this deserves to be in sort of a league of its own. And it took about a year actually for them to ramp up about 8 to 10 total titles that were going to launch under the Garrett House umbrella. So kind of a long time between writing and producing and publishing, but very much worth it. I love writing women's fiction. It's not romance, even though you may see my books categorized that way at a local library or even at a Barnes & Noble or a bookshop. There is, of course, a love story element, but really what I tend to focus on is strong female friendships, and I always give my protagonist a job. So a career that she loves does not have to mean that she's the CEO, boss of the world, but she's always genuinely happy doing what she's doing and fiercely independent.
So how did you get into writing?
So when thinking about how I got into writing, the long and short of it is that writing is really the only thing I've ever been good at, and I am allowed to say that because I'm not good at other things. I'm not good at sports, I'm not good at cooking, I don't have any other hidden talents, so I feel like it's okay for me to say this is the only thing I'm really good at. And I've been this way since I was a kid. I mean, ever since I was little, I would write really persuasive letters to Santa Claus or to my parents, way more than any 5 to 10-year-old should. When I was in elementary school, we used to have a publishing center where you could kind of type up stories, print them out, and bring them to this place. They would laminate them and bind them for you. I would bring stories every single day. Some of them I still have, which is really funny. But I've always had this kind of creative element to my brain, and my way of exercising that was through writing. For a long time, I thought that I wanted to be a journalist, so like a news reporter. It's kind of what I went to school for. But the more that I realized, my talents are not necessarily in reporting facts exactly how they are. I could never really tell a story the way that it happened. I was always embellishing it or putting my twist on it or exaggerating this part or that part, which made for fantastic storytelling, but it's not what's required when you're supposed to be doing hard-hitting journalism. So I kind of gave it a stab and just was like, let's go with creative writing and see if I could carry a story for any sort of great length of time. And that's really, when push came to shove, it was my talent as a writer combined with that entrepreneurial spirit of I want my work out there and I will do what it takes to make that happen for myself. Those two worlds eventually came together, and that's where you see me as an author today.
What are some of your inspirations as a writer?
So when you're asking about, what my inspirations are, really the answer is just real life. That's very cliche, but, the concept of hot mess is something that's pretty autobiographical. So what I mean by that is I lived a very similar life in my younger / mid-20s as my protagonist. So these are things that I personally saw or heard or experienced that inspired me to write the story. In fact, there's a lot of characters in that book that are based off of real life people that I know, that I'm still friends with, that I've learned from, and those make the best characters. So for me, it's really about what I've gone through in my life, that those moments where, and we've all had them, you've probably had them too, where you say, oh my gosh, this could be a movie or this could be a book. I'm just the person that said this could be a book and turned it into a book. For husband material, it's much less autobiographical in the sense of I have really nothing in common with my main protagonist, who is a young widow who loses her husband in her first year of marriage at the age of 25. The story takes place 5 years later when she's 30. But for that, I was inspired because I was living in Southern California at the time that I had the idea for the book. And I was listening to the news while I was doing dishes, and there was some story about a privately owned mausoleum in La Jolla, so a very nice part of Southern California overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And a developer made an offer to the mausoleum to sell them the land. And in exchange, they were going to level it and build some luxury condos. Well, the mausoleum took them up on that offer, and so all of those ashes that were there had to go back to next of kin. And I thought, could you imagine? I mean, that's crazy. So that was sort of the idea for that. So again, real life things either I've experienced or things that I see on TV or hear, or take one little thing and all of a sudden that's an idea for a book.
What has been the hardest part or biggest challenge in the creation of your work?
The hardest part or biggest challenge about what I do, it's hard to pinpoint one specific thing because there really isn't a hard part. I do what I love, and I'm very fortunate for that. So, I can't claim that sitting down and creating at my desk is difficult. There's things like the amount of time stuff takes once you're writing at a level where you're involved with a publisher like mine, where, things just can move or feel like they're moving at a glacial pace for a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with you. There's also my second book, Husband Material. I wrote that under contract on a deadline. So I basically sold Hot Mess as a debut manuscript, already baked, very, little bit of editing and that kind of stuff, and it was on the shelf. Husband Material was a concept that I came up with, pitched them with a one-page synopsis. They said, great, let's roll with this. And then all of a sudden I'm writing on a contract and deadline, meaning, you need to hit certain dates and you need to hit certain milestones or you don't get paid. And, all of a sudden writing a book under those sort of terms and conditions for the first time in my life was also a challenge. But you get used to it. It feels almost kind of like homework, like the way you would write a report in school, and you kind of just go with it. Another challenge, I think, is just, wishing that I could connect with my readers on a personal basis in the time of COVID. I used to do a lot of in-person events and bookstore events, and as we all know, those kinds of things have kind of gone out the window. So this last year was difficult in that regard of not being able to connect the way that I'm used to or the way that I would normally like to with my readers and visiting their book clubs and fun stuff like that.
If you could give any advice to other would-be authors out there, what would you say to them?
If I could give some advice to any authors or would-be authors or aspiring authors, it would definitely be two things. One of them is write your entire manuscript. Really resist the urge to go back, reread, edit. You get really stuck in the weeds and you don't really make a lot of progress. So my golden rule is I write up until sort of the crux of the book, where I know it's a really big pivot point. That's the first time I'll ever go back and reread my work, because what I want to do is make sure that I'm making sense up until that really pivotal moment. But I just want to give myself a good chance and a good focused time to make that big progress. If you're going from point A to B, and then you look at the rest of the book as point B to C, you want to get as much uninterrupted time between A and B as possible. So resist that urge to go back and back and back and reread and stop and go. It's just debilitating. The second piece of advice I have is that once you're completed with your manuscript, I really recommend getting an editor. This is different from a critique partner. It's different from somebody that you're maybe trading services with, but really a true bona fide editor whose job is to edit books. This is a critical part in making sure that your work is the best that it can be, and I've always hired a freelance editor for all the work that I've done, fiction work at least, to just kind of help cross-check me. A good editor is someone who doesn't want to write books, and a good writer is someone who doesn't want to edit. So find someone who, you're going to pay for their services, but they're going to really take you to that next level. And that's really what I recommend before, whether you choose to self-publish or explore more traditional publishing, that you just take that step and do your due diligence with a really good editor.
A big thank you goes out to Emily Belden for her participation in this month's Author Awareness interview. Now, if you're interested in following her on social media, or if you're wanting to pick up a copy of her books, all of those connections are linked down below. Her books are available on Kindle and paperback through Amazon. Hey, you made it all the way to the end, and that is awesome. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because that is how this channel is going to be able to grow its viewership. Remember to sign up as a channel supporter by heading on over to patreon.com/GKJpublishing, where you'll have access to 4 support tiers of $1, $3, $5, and $20. Each tier comes with access to my blooper reel, sweet tier level perks, and special promotions. Connect with me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing. When you hit up the merch store, you can easily rep an item by posting a pic to social media of you wearing or holding the item and tagging me with the hashtag 5Kingdoms merch. I'd love to feature your pics in a future video. That's it for me. I will see you guys back here next week for Creator's Corner, where I will be discussing internal logic with help from a very special guest. Thanks for watching. The vlog of the 5 Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. We can't do what we do without your help, so please make sure to subscribe by clicking the button that's above my head, and make sure to watch and share the videos over here to my left. Have a great week.